Hi everyone, welcome back to the Jansen Art Studio. I'm David Jansen. Welcome to our Art of Paint series. We're Art of Painting series where we're kind of showing you some different types of techniques from landscapes, seascapes, birds and stuff. And today we're going to do some more casual roses. Maybe a little bit more structured than what I've done in the past, but I want to get a nice modeled background on this into a vase of flowers. Some of you have asking for some more containers, so we'll do one of those today. And I'm kind of visioning some kind of pinkish, yellowish roses into maybe a very dark blue or purpley type of vase. We'll see how that goes. And some nice warm modeled background. Okay, what I have here is a 16 by 20 canvas board. And it is a very fine weed. You can also use the linen covered boards that you have on, or you can use a panel, a canvas, stretch canvas if you want. For my colors, I have my Painted Simply colors out here, which we're used to using. My warm naphthol red light, cool naphthol red violet. So warm naphthol red light, cool red violet, Hansa yellow, phthalo blue, black and white. Additions to that that I'll be doing on the palette today will be the pine green and some burnt sienna, and I'm also going to add two colors that I'm going to use a lot into the background, which is our burnt umber. This is a beautiful Australian burnt umber, and it is some yellow oxide that I have. Now I've put those out into the containers. I've mixed them up global, which you can find the instructions for in our YouTubes and on Global Art Supply. Or if you ever have a problem finding anything, always email us at jansenartstudio@aol.com. We'll point you to the right direction of which website contains that information. Okay, so let's get going. So I'm going to take just a regular fusion brush here, take a little bit of some extender. We'll take a little burnt umber here and maybe a bit of yellow there with that, and I'm just going to make a sketch, kind of give myself an idea about what I'm going to do. First off, I'm going to come up maybe right up into this area right here and just establish a casual idea for where my ground line will be. Most of this will disappear. I'm not going to paint a very specific ground line at all. And then my container. Now I'm going to push my container back just a bit. So my container will come up into this area that's going to hold my flowers, and we'll maybe make a little bit of a different shape one, maybe give a little angle here. I plan on a pretty full bouquet, so a lot of this container will cover up. So, but I like pretty full-size containers here, so we'll push that back, right back in here. Maybe this container will come right back into this area here. Here we'll widen it out just a bit, so it'll come out maybe a bit wider. And it's sketch. Of course, I have a pattern on the disc with this. You can put it in and get a pattern and all that stuff if you want. But there's nothing like sketching out and adjusting it and learning how to do it. There's just nothing beats that. You're the artist, and you gotta, on some of these casual paintings like this, we gotta get a nice correct ellipse there. It's good to have to learn how to sketch. Make sure you get that nice ellipse, that this ellipse is matching this one here. Okay, so gives me an idea. I'm push back into the corner there. I could push this back a little bit further. I could probably here. Let's just do that. We'll erase that back. We'll set this back just a little bit further here. Let's do that. We'll just widen this line out just a bit. Put that ellipse on. We'll thin out this side over here like that. So that'll push this back a little bit there to that side there. This would be an ellipse here. That's going to be the ellipse of that broken part of the container there. Yeah, so that looks pretty good. Here we might want to we might raise this up just a bit here, and I know sometimes when you're adjusting like this, you can distort and stuff a little bit, and I'll address that when I get into the final bit of it. I'll be putting background in and helping adjust this this whole thing, so I'm not worried. This just gives me an idea here of my container, my line. Now, because I'll be adjusting it quite a bit. Now, right up through here, we'll anchor our Trinity of Roses. I love to paint the Trinity of Roses. It's one of my favorite things to paint. Here's the 3 roses coming in, so we'll paint a larger one maybe right up over here. That'll occupy that area there. So we'll just start that one. One is occupied to the back, one that'll be right back here. More of a rosebud or something like that off of that one right there. Maybe a few leaves and one right off there like that. We'll come down off to the side of this here, off into the front and to the side here. We'll put another one. I like to trail down, so I'm going to bring light into the front and this way, and I like to trail through the painting. So we'll come through and let's set one rose right back here behind, and maybe one that comes right out here to the front like this. That will cross across the front of the container here like that and over to this way. So we'll have one behind, maybe even a little bit further behind, back up over here. That'll give me more depth. It puts in a different plane. It puts it into a different plane. So there'll be a rose back there and one coming right back up over there. So that will work a little bit edge. And I can put in the front edge of a table if I wanted to in here. You know, and put that in, and it's a little close there for this part right here. So we may small some of this down. And now, so what I'm going to do is it gives me kind of an idea. Now I'm going to start working on some of the background, and I might small some of this down as I'm working on this, because I'll use the background to paint it down and size it. Okay, so I'll show you how I do that. So I don't worry about getting the sketch exact, because when I start putting color in, that does it as well. So I'm going to take some yellow oxide right into some of my burnt umber here. This makes a beautiful, deeper, richer color. Sometimes I'll take that off with like a little green or so into it. It makes a beautiful color as well. Let's start putting in some color here first, and see, I'm going to leave the light of the container there, so it gives me this idea. So we'll probably small some of this down just a bit and push this container back just a bit more here, so I have more room on the front of the table. We'll see. So I'll put this in. This is burnt umber and a little bit of yellow oxide and some pine green, and I'll change it up a bit. Sometimes I'll cool that off, maybe a bit of red violet into that. We'll cool that color. See how it changes that color, cools that color in there. So first off is just to get some color on here. We'll manipulate this quite a bit. We'll lighten this up, warm this up. I don't want to get big, huge dollops of that into my white, so I'll just take a big old dollop of white right out here. And I'll lighten it up quite a bit right up in here into the front. This is where the front of my composition will be. And I think I will use this just to push back that container a little bit more, which will push that rose right back in there. But this will be the light, a nice light warm, and of course we'll have lots and lots of color to put on this. We'll have lots, we have a long ways to go on this painting, but I just kind of use this 3/4 inch brush here like this, and I'll push it on. Sometimes I use my knife. I'll grab colors with my knife and I'll do this, and I'm going to be doing this in this painting. But the brush, just kind of a quick brush like this, kind of puts it in a little quicker here. So we'll push that back here, and we'll get a little more color. Maybe just a touch lighter here on the table than it is on the wall right there. And we'll just get some more burnt umber and yellow oxide here. There we go. A little bit of that pine green, I like that in there as well. Color, change that, get lots of paint, because we got a long ways to go on all these paints and colors. If you use a lot of paint, you'll get more interest into your painting. Sometimes as artists, we thin out our colors a little bit too much. I wanted to go over just a bit more. So we'll probably shove this over just a bit more here. And we'll have some through light, which means it's shining through. So my light's going to come into the front. So right back here, I'll have through light also. So this is where light will go into my composition, right up there and right down through here. We'll justify that a little bit more, but just for right now, a little bit later. But for right now, we just need to have some light through the composition and back up over here to this side here. I used to always make when I first started doing all of this, super accurate drawing pattern and stave it in, and that's fine to do, but I've become more and more casual in my painting. So even my initial sketch in my mind needs to start out casual. If I started out too perfect, which is what I really wanted to do for such a long time, but if I started out too perfect, then what it does is just makes my painting more stiff. And I find if I just give myself an idea, and then, and it doesn't have to be perfect, and I can change it, then that allows me to paint more casual. So that becomes very important. I like that kind of greenish color. I'm going to take some of that right across to the other side over here, because we got a lot. I want to put a lot of tones into my backgrounds and stuff here to get a lot of things going. So we'll work that right like that. Let's get some lighter color, which is my through light right up here. Let's get some of that right into this painting here. Look at that beautiful colors together. Move your brush in many ways, and because it just gives so much more interest to the painting here. Lots of color. Lots and lots of color here. Just like that. That gives that through light through there. Here. So we have that through light, then we'll slowly manipulate this down a little darker over here. First start out with a little more yellow so it stays on the warm side here. Let's get some of that light through, cross those over a bit. So, and then we'll get a little bit darker, maybe a little bit more brown and stuff over here onto this side here. Let's get some of that green and burnt umber, yellow oxide. Some of those colors going in here. Heavy colors going right on. Working in that. It'll set the feeling for the composition here. Get some of that dark right in there. So we'll small down a few of these things. So my initial idea, my initial sketch is just a bit big. I want to small it down a bit, which makes it nice because it's easy to do. You just start to paint into your design a bit here. It's easy to do. Get some of this nice color. That's beautiful. Walk that through. So what you have here is just a nice idea here, and then we'll define it a little bit more. Let's just put a little bit of a table line here. And there's so many artists, and this is like where I get the inspiration for this type of painting is a casual, as a Dutch. I did a lot of Dutch compositions, and then they do a lot of floral paintings, what they call floral still lifes, and you can get some beautiful examples, and then I just apply the alla prima to it and paint it more casual. Then they do the precise layering and stuff like we've done in so many of our Dutch lessons. So it helps quite a bit. It gives you a nice difference. So we'll just put the idea of a edge of a table or something in there right now. I'm going to push this back a little bit more. So I want to push this container back just a bit more, and then we'll reset it into our painting. That'll give me more room to develop some front of the painting here, and we'll small it down just a bit here. Reset. Let's get some green in between our painting. Here, reset some of that. Here, I want to raise some of it as well. So now I see it pretty good here. So, you know, I want my edges in here, but I think I want to raise this edge up here and stuff too. So what I'm going to do is flip over to a darker color of the container here. We might just go with a, start this out with a burnt umber black type of color, maybe a little bit of burnt sienna, just a neutral color here. Let's just put the shape in, and then we'll shift it over to a tone as we get into the painting here. So we'll put that, we want this angle on here just a bit. Let's just angle it over like that, and then come up like that. So that container will be about that shape there, like that. Different way, you know, than some of you that have painted with me before. You'll see this is different than what I've done before. And that's what I like. I like to always experiment and try different things, which changes my my feeling for the paintings, and that keeps everything exciting and fun. I'm always trying new things. I had a lady write me and say, you know, oh, with this painting, am I going to learn anything different? Well, I'd say, you know, not always. There's sometimes in some of my technique videos, I repeat stuff because people like it. But the majority of the time, I'm constantly painting different and trying different things. That's my job. Is I like to experiment and try all different kinds of things. So I'm going to set this in, and we'll set this right in here like that. You know, give me kind of and I want to soften some of these edges as well. We'll blur these out. Long ways to go, but see, I'm trying to just, as the artist here, what I'm trying to do is to just capture the feeling of it, of this container and what I'm going to do with it here, and capture the feeling of it, but not be too precise yet. I don't want to be precise because that locks me in, okay? So, you know, we'll come through and we'll kind of blur our edges. To do what I like to do is just drag it like that and drag some of this color through, so we soften those edges there. And I'll take a little bit of color. All this will be repainted. All of it, everything here will be covered up and repainted. Okay, this is just an underpainting here. So I soften the lines generally like this as I'm putting it on, so that doesn't give me a super perfect line, and gives me, my eye can see that I can change it. You know, it just gives me some blurred areas here, idea of where the stuff is going to be, and not precisely where it's going to be. Okay, and so we'll just add a little bit of that in. That gives me a better feel for this container, and it doesn't have to be perfect here, just idea of it. Okay, here we go, just like that. Now for the roses and stuff, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a gray color here for right now with some of my burnt umber, some of this green. I'm going to take some white into this, put it all together. This is all colors of the composition, right, with some of this burnt umber black stuff. Let's make a nice grayish color here, and could probably go just a touch more white. And so that rose will occupy that area there. We'll have another one that occupies this area here. I love the trinity of roses, painting those in compositions. Let's lift this one up just a touch more, push it up like this, so it's there into that. That gives us some room for some leaves and stuff there. We might push, now we were going to put like a rosebud or something right up over there. We might push another one, right, one or two or so right up here. That will, if we push something right up here, one or two right up in there, that'll give us a line down, and the line down through here, and let's push one crossing right over the edge of this one, this container, right there. And then we'll darken one down. It doesn't have to be perfect yet. We'll darken one down that will appear back here, back behind, right back into that area. See, it's just a suggestion of everything as I'm putting this all in. I'm getting a nice suggestion of it, so I'm not locking myself into one specific way or not. And we'll imagine something coming up and maybe put one right up here, right like that pulls the eye. So this will pull the viewer's eye that way, this will go this way here. And that'll work there pretty nice. Now, so that has me an idea of my composition there, of what I might do. Now I'm going to just start to take some of this light color here. Let's add some yellow to it. Let's model this up onto the knife here like this. And let's just drag some of this across and up and down and stuff into this area here of our painting. And this will start to, and I'll be using the brush in here too, both the brush and the knife several times back and forth. But this will start to just break up some of this light color here and add some interest, some other tones. Let's get some little bit of our greens into that as well, and just break that up here. And sometimes I use my finger like this to do it. Sometimes I use, I'll put it on with the brush, the knife, and then I'll come back like this and just touch through with the brush. And all I'm doing is my goal right now is to establish my light movement through the painting here, okay? So we know light is going to move through a painting, and this is just one of the things I like to establish. Light will come up through there, light will come up through hitting right up through here, and then hit up right up here to the top. Let's step back just a bit more and see that as well. So light is coming through here, the painting like this. This is what I want to preserve. This is what I want to add into my painting here. And so I want to start to develop some of these areas here. And I want to get casual. So I'll start using my knife with some of my yellows and my lights here. And I'll start to just move that color through like this. Okay, and push some of that into here, into this light tone that's right back up in there like that. And maybe get a few other little colors in there as well. But get some of these greens and yellows in there as well. And just a few little touches of the burnt umber and greens and stuff there. And love that raw sienna, that yellow oxide and a little green and brown. Beautiful colors for this painting this time. Here, drop that down through. But the feeling that you want to get here, you want to get some movement, some crossing, some movement. You want light, and we want light right back up in here as well. Okay. Now we can darken this just a touch up there, just a little bit. Now, one of the things to remember though, one of the things I want you to remember is you put on color, especially acrylics, they usually dry about 10% darker. So you think you have it really light, especially if you're doing a lot of colors like this. They will dry a little darker than what you're seeing right now. So keep that in mind. So what may be, appear to you just a touch light may end up not that light when it's all said and done, okay? So keep that in mind. So, like that right up there, I'm going to leave that for right now. I feel it might be just a touch light, but, we don't know. When I start to get more light and more white on there, that might be right. And it's going to dry about 10% darker or so. So I'm going to keep that in mind as I'm doing this and pushing some of these tones in here with the knife. Just grabbing some of these things and pushing some of those into some of this wet paint. Look at that beautiful tonal difference that you get in there. Isn't that nice? That's what I'm looking for. We'll get some burnt umber. Let's even get some of our burnt sienna. Burnt sienna and the burnt umber are beautiful tones to work together, especially as we get down in through here, which is what I want to do. And I put that color on a little bit thin right there, so it's drying just a bit, but that doesn't hurt anything. I can refreshen anything at any time, just a little extender and the paint here, just to work those tones together again. It's beautiful. And sometimes, though, you know, you let some of that drying happen because it gets great. It works great. So I like that burnt umber and that green and that, you know, burnt sienna and pine green. You've seen me this whole last couple of years use a lot of that together in some of the Art of Painting series. And because I like the way those two neutralize out each other quite a bit and still keep that color just so warm. They're wonderful additions. Let's just drag some of that now down through there. And drag some of that through like that. And it's just beautiful coloring. And take your time. Have some fun with this. And, you know, if you get something like, you know, the color you don't like, just keep adding to it and building it and pushing some of the stuff you don't like right back out again. Doesn't hurt it. You know, just grab some of that nice dark. Let's just lay that in there. Get some of this color here. And beautiful tones in here to get some of that going. Here. And you want to make sure that, you know, you've got this color on here. You know, your richness of your painting. And I've said this so many times, is especially if you're a beginner here, you know, we get real timid with the use of our color, how much color we're going to use onto a painting. And so we tend to put it on a little weak. And what we want, and then that affects the depth. You know, so many of the paintings, you look at them, and they have so much depth to them and richness to it. And that comes from a lot of paint. And it takes a lot of layers to it to get that, you know, that much paint, you know, going in that. So I'm going to put out even a little bit more burnt umber here. Just put that right out and clean off that knife a bit before I pick up a big old dollop of my pine green here. That works really well. And let's just grab a big old dollop of some yellow and even some, you know, some red violet. Get some of those tones out there. This burnt sienna tone is beautiful. Let's get a good dollop of that out here. And let's just grab some of this stuff here. And not super mix it together, but grab some of it and work those tones. See how those tones evolve up through the reds and the greens here. You can grab some of that green and just drag that right down through there. That's what makes it pretty. You get some of that going through and get a little cooler burnt umber, a little red violet right along right in here. Got a nice deep shadow here on this side here, but I don't like to make straight lines, so even here I'll blur this out into that table line just a bit there. That gets some of that color. Maybe we'll pick up just a hint of that color coming through over here, and see, that'll make it pretty. Just do that. Just push that in there like that. You know, maybe walk that up just a bit here like that. You know, the goal is that light movement through here. That's what we're looking for. And now I'm just coming through and just building and building here. We might have a shadow right in here that's going to come from this container. You know, that I keep going into that edge of that container, but that's okay. I know where it is. Here. And we'll get a little more light right up here. Then we'll take a little bit of both right in here and mix those two together, or model those two together. Don't mix, model those two together. Modeling means you're not over mixing it to one color, so they still have their color identities there. Okay, they're just kind of softened. That's modeling, softened on the palette here. And we'll get some of that green into that. There we go. And there's beautiful coloring of that. See, and just let some of that go through, some of that movement and stuff. Just go through there. It's just lovely. Let's get some of that. And, you know, the angles, I'm doing a lot of up and down, but, you know, some artists will control an angle or something like that. You know, put it in at an angle. You know, if I put flowers at an angle, like I just said in another DVD I filmed yesterday, if I get, you know, flowers at an angle, I'll usually go horizontal and vertical with my backgrounds and stuff. But since I'm coming down and through like this, I'll do a lot of horizontal and vertical on this one because these flowers are coming down almost in this S form here like this. So I will do that this time as well. We'll add just a bit of that light pulling down through here like that. There we go. There. That's kind of pretty. And we'll get some more light right up here. More of our light right up into the front here. And I like it when it starts to get a little tight, a little, the color starts to get a little sticky, a little tight, because then it just, you know, it grabs and moves so much better and prettier. Just, boom, it's just, and you get enough of that paint on there, then it starts to really get some of that beautiful interest to it. We'll grab some of these yellows and tone this down a little bit because it's going to get a little darker here as it gets away from the light. So we want to push some of this light, and see, you can just do this. I put some dark and it was right over light, but I can just lift that right off just in the direction of the light. And I say that so many times, even in the roses and everything that I do with roses and everything. If I'm putting on color, let's just put it this way, I'm putting on color so light. I'm not pressing. I mean, I'm pressing when I want to push these colors together. I call it burnishing them together. But here I just took a dark lightly over the top of the light. So underneath I have the light and on top I have the dark. Now if I push from the light into the dark, I lift the dark off. So if I push this way, I will lift that dark off. But if I wipe my finger and if I push the other way from the dark to the light, I will drag the dark down. Okay, so that is something I do on roses if I want to bring the shadow of the bowl up or the light of the petal down. And so here I can come back like this and soften that back, and then just go like this, and so I know right about where that light is going to start to diminish there. And I'll go back and forth, pulling down to pull that shadow back out just a bit until I got the look to that area that I want to have. And we want a little more shadow back into this side of that one, right in there. So I'll just drop that in. We'll let that run right into some of that red violet we put up in there earlier. That'll be pretty. So I got that beautiful tone right in there. And we'll even let some of that red violet tone come back out here. So you see, I'm doing light and light to dark and warm to cool here. This is how I'm building my painting here. Light to dark to warm to cool. And I love to use my fingers like that to set that up. So now I've got this light that's going to, you know, just shine through here. That's going to be great. We'll push a little bit of that right in there. And let some of that stop like that. Get some of that nice, you know, variation here to your colors. That's what makes it really pretty. Let's take a bit of our light yellow right into some of these greens and lights. Let's model that all up. And let's just come with some of that right up in here and just let it drag lightly now. So put some on your knife like this, and as this starts to tack up and dry, you can drag like this, you see, and that just sets a nice lightness there to it and a little bit of mottled energy. And then if you push to it, it'll blend it in, just what I call burnish it in. And so you don't want to push too much to that you get rid of everything, but I want to kind of burnish in a little bit of these lights and some of these other colors here like this. And if I get too much, I can take it back out with some dark. I'm not worried about that, but maybe just a bit of that reds or reddish tones up in there, that red violet that we had. Maybe just a bit of that tone up in there would be pretty. It's just gotta, let's just get a little more reddish tone right up in there. That'd be pretty to see a little bit of that again. Here, right up and a little bit darker, right up there like that. So the goal is to get the light through. It'll darken a little bit here. It'll darken the most back up into this area and down into the front, which I haven't done yet, but if I'm doing the front of a table, it'll darken down in there as well. But we'll pull a little bit of this. I just want to get some nice light color moving through every once in a while. But I want to get this nice variation to our tones there. That looks good. And maybe a little bit of that tone green and stuff back in here, which will be a shadow from the form of this container and the flowers. So maybe a little bit more, cool it, maybe a little red violet, a little green, a little burnt umber right in there. Just push down to soften it into those other colors. Now you see these are nice and tight and thick, and you know, I can push and push and push and blend, but I don't want to blend. But I can get some of that nice interest there going throughout this painting here. That's pretty good. Okay, now let's we have our choice. We can work on a container or we can set some roses, but this is a painting of roses, so I'll just go in and let's just go in and casually set some of the roses. I'll use a 10. I think this is a 10. Yeah, it's 10. It's hard to tell. I get so much paint on the handles I can't always see what it is, but it's a 10. And let's take a little burnt sienna and maybe some red violet. Now we know from our Mastering Roses series that I painted with you, this whole series of books, I got all these different techniques and stuff that I use onto the roses. I'll be using some of the techniques that I show in this series on here. One of the first things we want to do is divide the roses up into their 3 major circles. We decide which one's going to be our king here that's going to control the composition, and I'm going to make this one right here control the composition. Basically because, and why? Basically because the composition is moving this way, and he's going to be counter to that. So if I have him as, you know, pointing out here, the light's moving through this way, the viewer's eyes moving through at here, he'll contrast that movement, and that'll give him more interest. So I start by tapping in quite a bit of heavy color here into the throat of the rose, and then right down in through here, which would be the bottom bowl of the rose, the bowl shadow. Maybe push in and out a little bit here, as it would get the petals as they push in and out there. Let's just grab a little yellow with that, a little yellow and brown and background color here, and just push that in there, soften that out and around. So I'll set that rose in. So I'm going to come in a little closer now here, set that right up there as we paint these guys. Let's now, I generally like to, when I paint, change the colors up a little bit. We'll go a little bit more of the red violet here, maybe into to this one here. And we'll open and maybe turn this one slightly different here. So there's a bowl shadow. It's going to be there. And that center shadow here. And this flower going around, pushing in and out like that. That'll be great. And let's set up a nice soft one. So we'll gray this. See, I'll gray this color with some of my greens, so the flower becomes softer here. The color becomes softer, not as much. Still kind of a reddish tone. Still push that bowl in like that. And but the actual flower color itself here softens out quite a bit here. And that's great. We'll change these things up a little bit more as well, but let's take that softer color, a little lighter, because we're going to go to the back, and then we'll use that very soft back here on this one. Maybe drop it down just a bit, right in there. This will set a extremely soft one back here. There, like that. Maybe just a strike or two here to say there's going to be the bowl and stuff of that rose right there. So that one sits there. We'll come up here into the front. That'll be our bowl shadow. Now this one I have a lot of contrast to because it's pulling to the front of our painting here. So we'll give these two, this one and this one, the most contrast here in the painting. Here. touched into a little bit of blue with that red violet there by mistake, and I kind of like it. I'm going to leave that in there. Matter of fact, I'll probably add a stroke or two of that to a few other little things here. If I make a color, I like to move that color around the painting. So, and that's kind of a pretty little color I got there by accident, on purpose. By accident. So, and that might make a pretty nice color of the vase, or have some of that color into this vase. Get that red violet, it's a purpley color, red violet and a little bit of blue into that purpley color into this vase here. Yeah, that's kind of nice. See that come into some of that vase. And you know, if you don't like, then we take some of it out. But that's kind of a pretty color to let that between the violet and the blue. And we'll keep it, of course, kind of soft. But we'll just put a little bit of that into our vase here. And we'll get that ellipse down here a little bit more precise. Maybe out here like that. Not super perfect, and we'll take that off just a bit, but not super perfect, but catch that into that area there, like that. And let's make sure we express some of our light, and right across here. So I just added some of this light that's right here. Even with that yellow, kind of warms that up a bit, has a little burnt sienna in it, and just kind of quickly make a statement of the light on that edge of the vase, so the viewer will see the light traveling up and through the painting. Now I'm going to come back onto my roses here and retrack and retrace that light as well, because we have to see it through everything. We'll just soften these edges there like that. Isn't that neat? So now, you know, I took out that rose that I had in there, and that's fine. I know there's going to be a rose in there. See, there's the thing is, it's like you do an artist's sketch, and what that helps you do with that sketch is it helps you kind of see, okay, this is where my flowers are going to be. I don't need to see them after that. If I put on a pattern and leave that pattern, I will just continue to paint that stiff. So sometimes I paint it out, put it back in, paint it out, put it back in. Sometimes I end up changing the design completely, but it's a building process, and I know what it looks like in my mind. I know we had one here, which I was going to push back a little bit further here. After I did my initial sketch, I thought, well, that needs to go back a little bit more. So we'll push one, it's going to go right back out in here. Maybe even push one right back over here. Maybe we'll put another one right there, like two of them right there. And then we're going to come right across with the stem and everything coming right across the front, and we'll push one right into here too. That will go counter to the way in which our composition is going. We'll push one right in here, right in this area. And that'll look pretty nice, I think, as we start to develop that. So, but you can see I leave them really casual for right now. Let's get up and get some of these burnt sienna on that red violet. I'm loving that right now. And let's put in the idea of a back rosebud right in here. Soften out the edges of it. So I just put it on and just kind of drag through it a little bit there. We'll lighten it up, which will gray it up, soften it out here with some of our background, and let's put one right on over here. Maybe that's going to be the rosebud right out there. So it's not exactly in a line there. That's good. We'll have some other leaves coming out here. You know, we might want to put a suggestion of another rose. And this is all I do, is just boom, 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 boom. There's a suggestion. Maybe there's going to be a rose right there. Just bang. There it is. Maybe to the back side or something like that. Take a little bit of your red violet or so and just say, okay, there's another suggestion of one. You don't need to paint. This is the thing. If you want to learn how to paint casual, you don't need to do too much to that. Just kind of put on a kind of reddish ball, really, with some strokes on it because the viewer will see it. We'll do beautiful things up onto these roses here, and then the viewer doesn't need to see a lot of detail into the other flowers because they have that other one, the one that's right up here, to balance with and see flowers with, okay? So we don't need to do a tremendous amount. Now let's take some of our burnt sienna, some of our green, and some burnt umber, kind of mix those all together here, right onto this palette here. I'm just kind of taking burnt sienna, and let's push some of this light color right up here for a second. Okay, and let's just take some of these burnt sienna, green, burnt umber. Love that burnt umber in there. Let's get those together here. And let's just toss some of these, vary the pigments here. Sometimes more green, sometimes more burnt sienna or burnt umber. And let's just drop some of that right in here. Right down into our ellipse. This is really the filling up of the container here between the flowers. So between the flowers you'll get leaves and stuff going on out there. Okay, and we might develop a few little flowery leaf shapes there. Here, touch into some of these, and sometimes I do them more precise, sometimes I do them just really, really, really casual here, and love to drag the edges. I love to drag the edges and make them quite soft here. It's not a perfect leaf. It's just the idea of a leaf here. And just casually paint something out here like this, and just kind of suggestive. So, and I like the dark leaves here. It's called the chiaroscuro of the painting, the light, the dark of the painting, and it's something that the Dutch did. Especially after Balthasar van der Aust and after that word, they started to paint the light, what's called the light and the dark, chiaroscuro of the painting. And van der Aust did it very, very nice. If you have light going through a composition like this, and this is called through light, and what it does is they would move the composition forward until the light that's coming through is hitting the wall into the back. But the light that's coming through here would not be hitting this side of the composition. So you have light coming here. Light comes around to this way, and here on the actual vase of flowers, you start into your shadows. But because this is pulled so far forward, the light here is hitting the back of the wall. And so what that does is it's going to put the light of the painting, which is this side, against the dark background, and the dark of the painting, which is this side, against the light background. And what that does is that creates more contrast and interest. And so they started knowing about, when they started painting, really controlling and learning the light of their paintings into the 16th century and stuff, they started learning that, hey, if I move and control my light here and paint what they called the chiaroscuro of the painting, they would get put more contrast and interest into the painting. So, and before that, they would paint just light and dark, light side, light and dark side, and you can see that in some of the older Dutch versus when they started adding the lighting elements to it. So I'm just coming through here and just kind of sketching a little bit around what might be a leaf or something up here. It doesn't have to be anything perfect at this time. I can make some more perfect shapes here, and I'll just take those off just a bit here. But sometimes a little bit more green into them here, and sometimes we'll lighten that up here so it's not quite so heavy, and maybe a bit of green here. Here we go. Doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. We'll give the idea of a stem line there, maybe one or two of them here, and some lighter, softer green leaves coming off of them here. just getting a little casual. And I move some of that color. Let's move some of that green in through the composition here. Maybe a bit of yellow in it. Tone it down a bit. Here. Just stroking through just a bit. So you want to build these colors in here. This bouquet of this vase of flowers here is quite thick in through here. There's a lot. I mean, you might pick up, some of the vase color. You might pick up a color of another rose sitting right back out into there. So I used to always visualize that the roses, it was like almost flat, that it stopped. But no, this is round. So especially into this area here, you're looking through the roses quite a bit. So you want to make sure that you show quite a bit of stuff going on in there, and it usually takes 3-4 times through to get some interest to some of those elements in there. So those greens and stuff. So, we may have some lighter yellow greens in there, some strokes of some lighter yellow greens in there, and some darker greens in there, and just some pine green strokes in there. And that helps also with the whole feeling of our composition. But right now I'm just setting up some color movement in there. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, so we'll have some of this coming forward though with some lights here. Here we'll have some coming forward. Before I get too much into that, I got to paint the vase or the container a little bit more. Let's just take some of our dark here, and let's just drag that broken line there to that stem here. Maybe there's a couple of them there. That'll be good. That just gives me an idea. Sometimes I paint that out and redo it and everything, so it just gives me an idea. Here I'll pull out, in and out here. I want to paint the angle of these petals kind of pushed down and flat right in here. That'll help it make it look like it's sitting on the table there. Okay, so let's come back into here. Let's grab some of our lights right up over here. Let's get into the lights of that container a bit here, of where we would have it. First, let's just take some of that light and let's just hit right where that light would be on that container there, like that. That tells me where my light is and where I've got to work into, what I've got to work with here. I'll soften some of that out. Okay. Now generally when I paint these, I like to go to a pretty good sized brush. And I'm going to want to hit some different colors. I'm going to want to put some accents of some blue, which I'll touch into the painting, some purples and stuff like that into the painting. First off, let's set the light and dark of the painting, the light and dark of the vase. The vase here, the light is going to be here. Okay, so the ellipse of the vase, in the ellipse that we have, which is running right in here like this, the roundest part of these ellipses and stuff like that is going to be right here. So the light's coming here. Light cannot get past here. So the shadow will start right in here. Now we will have, because of the lightness of our table, reflected light right up onto this side. So when I start my first shadow stroke, I'll start it right in here, right from that edge there, and pull across there like that. That sets the shadow of it. Now I'll take a little bit of that color and I'll express a little bit of that shadow up here, letting it get a little bit lighter as it gets to the bottom, as we get closer to our reflected light, which is going to be coming up from that table. Okay, so I put that in there. Now let's take a little bit of red violet, change that tone just a bit. Let's pull a little bit of that color in here as well, right in there. Maybe some of these beautiful tones, a little bit of that white into some of that burnt sienna, then right into that. Look at this beautiful tone that's right in here. That's a beautiful color that can go in there. Those burnt siennas, those warmer tones, those colors. That's a beautiful tone right in there for that. So I'll pull across a little bit, and then, like I said, with the roses and stuff, I'll pull back and forth and up and down. Sometimes I'll use the knife. I want some of this stuff to kind of give the feeling of round, and also the vertical of the vase there. So I'll leave some strokes in both directions with that, so, and we might pick up a bit more of a blue or lightish blue or so here, which would come from a nice, that's a little bright there, but it'd come from a nice reflected light. So we'll take that down just a bit, but you leave a little bit of it. See, rather than take it off, I paint it back to what I think it needs to be into place, and that's a beautiful little tone right in there with that vase right there. Tap in a little burnt sienna into some of that, and colors right into here just to change that up a bit. A little back into our red violets. You got to think shadow, cool colors up here because it's being shadowed by the rose that's hanging over it there. Okay, but then we just pay some of these fun colors here onto the vase here. Play some of the, curve this a little bit. Curve your stroke a little. That gives the vase kind of the curved movement there of that, like that. And that's kind of nice. Now let's go back. That's kind of a neat colored vase there with that. Let's go back to some of our whites. Model that right up into these colors here. This has a little bit of that burnt sienna in it to it, so it's warmer than what I was doing here, which is what I want. And we'll establish that light right there again. Maybe that light hit there, maybe a little softer. We might hit the ellipse that's going to be right up there. Okay, and I'll just drag through just a bit there, which is nice. Let's drag the bottom of that down just a bit. And maybe the edge of that ellipse right there. There, right there, like that. I love just that real casual bit of the painting there. Now let's just kind of darken that down, maybe a little bit of a bluish kind of color, and just kind of glaze over this light area here. And that'll carry some of that light down just a bit. Set it back or push some of it back. I paint back and forth a lot. Push some of that back. Here, let's right in there, just real casual, just boom, boom, boom here. And you can just tap through that just to soften that out a bit. But that nice real light, that's your shine right there. We might drag just a bit of that across the ellipse, just a touch there. There, like that. It just helps express the light out a little further. Helps show that ellipse there too, which I want to that nice broken edge of the architecture of the vase there, the vase. I always say that those of you that have, painted these with me before, if it comes out really, really great, it's a vase. If it doesn't come out so great, it's a vase. So, we want to hit our vase there, because this one's going to come out great. You can put accents. Of course, we got accents we have to put in stuff, but like warmer little accents, like hit a little bit of the burnt sienna in there. You have some of your greens, which we want to be able to hit into that color there too. So you up into these areas, especially as you get up in here, you'll be reflecting onto this, because when you put that shines on and stuff, you're saying it's a shiny surface, and so we're going to want to hit some of that shiny surface with some of these other colors that are in the composition, which we'll do here more in just a little bit. But we'll pull those out a little bit more. Get some of our coloring in there. There, like that. Just a real, it's different, and it's a darker color. We'll end up taking some of these colors though, which is what we're going to do, and carry those up into the flowers just a bit. So it's different. It's a little bit blue, so I've got to carry some of that up as little touches, accent touches, into my flowers. And you can do different values of them as well. But carry those up into my flowers here like this. Just tap it through. just puts that color up in there. See, it's traveling that color. So I just tap some of that up and through. That's what makes the painting beautiful. That's what makes it art. Is you're carrying these. And yeah, in real life you may not see that, but you do this for harmony. This is what makes it a painting as opposed to a photograph of something. You're carrying those colors and pushing those around and stuff. That just makes it really pretty. Okay, so you have those in there. Now, I've just got an idea here of this vase and a vase, and there I'm gonna leave that for right now, maybe a little bit of that nice warm burnt sienna right there, because that is up towards the front here. There we go. Maybe a bit of that just hitting right in there like that. That's kind of pretty. Now I'm going to come up and paint some of my main rows here. We'll take some white. I'm going to leave these violety colors and stuff here. I'm going to push in over here, though. I'll take some of my burnt sienna. Let's take some naphtha red light. And let's take some of our red violet. And of course, we have our yellows over here as well. But I'll come into here and I'll start to put some of these beautiful tones. I'll tone it with a little bit of green too. I like on a softer painting, or this painting here is very harmonious, very soft, so I don't want to jump right in there with naphtha red light. So I'll take some of my greens and put it in there, and that just makes it tone down, or even some of these violets here. That just helps tone this down. Makes a softer color, softer reddish tone, warm tone here for my painting. And then we'll cool some of that shadow down. Here we go. We'll get some of these nice modelly tones here. Some shadows. So here I got those purples. I'm going to reset my red violet down into my center here. Pull that back out. Here. There we go. And we'll set some yellow right into this red violet. Get this warmer orangey tone. Maybe up here to the front. Now this is all before I change this over to the white, so put some of that warmy tone right in there as well. Look at that, got that beautiful blue to the orange, the warm tone there. That's really pretty. We'll pick up some light. We'll tap that together right here, that light color, and strike that right across the front here. Boom. Here. Just strike that with the edge and just lift some of that in there like that. Okay, so that's the front edge of the rose itself there. Okay, we'll model up some more light and stuff here. Soften that just a bit. And we'll see some of the outside edges of the rose here. Sometimes I stroke it and just kind of push, and we say coach it kind of along, just kind of pushing it along and kind of shaping up the rose here a bit. What I want to see in the rose here. Here, this edge here, this petal here. There we go. And we'll pull down just a bit. Some lighter color. Now, what I do a lot is I'll take some of my cooler color, put that in my brush, and lift off to that, to lift off any extra. And I want to make sure that I preserve my bowl shadow down here and my form shadow of that rose that we've talked about before, the nice form shadow of that rose. So here, so lighter, it'll be lighter up in here. We'll get more light right up in here. We'll model that light onto our brush, and we'll establish more light petals right up in here. This is the top light part of the movement of the rose here. That's where that light color is coming from, right up there. Okay, so we'll establish some light, and then it'll diminish down as it comes down to this side over here. And I'll push my reds and stuff together here. And just pull down and get some of that nice red color into that rose. A little bit of that in there, and I got to get some warm yellows in there as well. I'm going to push these down just a bit more, so I have some room here for my yellows. My orange, I love that kind of warm, kind of orange color. And if I want it brighter, I'll put some Hansa yellow. So yellow oxide, Hansa yellow, and that. Look at that beautiful warm kind of orange tone. That's beautiful into these roses, especially into these warm colors of this background here. There we go. It's kind of nice. And we'll just kind of build this petal up and around. It's going to be the rose there. And you can take out, I do a lot of negative painting, taking out, shaping out with some dark. When I shape roses like that, pull out and shape and pull darks down. Let me come in a little closer here, just a little bit more. There we go. Okay, so I take out some, and we might use this to kind of put some movement around the center of our rose here. Just the corner of that little brush there. Get some of that movement. And we might add little tips or little strokes of light here and there. As we look for variation of the petals, that's what I want to do, is variation of the petals here. You know, the edges and stuff of the petals there, like that. So it's not just perfectly round. I have a tendency, because of all the years of stroke roses, to make my petals just perfectly round. And so I try now not to always do that, to make them quite a bit, you know, to try to make them varied and different and stuff. So that works there. While I'm working on that one, I'm also going to go up and work on this other one here. So let's take some nice light pink and come right across the front there. Maybe a little darker color and push and lift out here, like that. You're setting up the shapes of this flower. A little warm orange, little edge. See that tiny little bit of light, and I can just push a little light up into those edges there of that rose, and maybe some. Soften that light there. Just create some of the movement around there. And around dark here. And at the base of it, we'll get that nice form shadow in there. Want to make sure we keep some of that as well up into these areas here. We'll see some of those shadows and reds. I like to every once in a while spot some brighter color, especially on the forward roses there, like little color spots. So take like a little naphtha red light, even into some of that orange, drop some right into there. It's a little brighter spot of color there into that rose. See that? Makes it look quite pretty, and we can put some more angled little petals or so on that. Not quite sure how I'm gonna build that rose yet, so we'll just tap in a little bit of the color. We know we need some light. I'll put in a little color spot there. We know we need those lights. Maybe lift up a bit. Now we need some lights. These petals right out here where that light is going to be hitting. coming through our composition here. That's pretty nice. Let's get a, and you can back paint anytime. Just come back in and back paint. See how that softens that whole area, blurs that all up there. And we'll just, there we go. So maybe make a more defined edge on a few of those petals there, like that. So, you know, it definitely comes up in here into the front. We're going to have this one, though, colliding with this one here. There will be light on this edge here of this rose right there. And a little darker, softer center down here. That edge falling down there. So we'll bring these in kind of soft together in here. See, I move my brush, and it's always kind of curving and moving into the shapes of the roses. It's the most important part of this, is it's just always moving into the shapes of the roses here. So I like to do this, work the colors many times until I get that nice movement of those colors. Like I might want to have a little more of that yellowy orangey color right out in here, coming out, moving out through these petals here before I set some more petals in there. I just will move them out a little bit more, then we can set some more petals here. And that one lines up with that one too much, so I'll want to take that out. There. There we go. Yeah, put that one in there like that, and set that one in there. So you're both coming down like this. And these, you know, right in here you have this transition from the bowl petal going up and over to the reaching petal going out. And so it's kind of like, you know, that always there, that's the artist's choice of how and when they're going to bend those petals out and how they're going to do it. So I'll put on too much color, and then I'll just lift off what I don't need here till I start to get the kind of shape that I might want to have there in that particular area of the rose. So we'll drop that one in there. And sometimes I'll just paint them really, really casual and let the viewer kind of pick out what they see as petals too. And that works. That works very well. You can just manipulate those colors around there with your finger like that. That looks nice. I would need a little bit of that warmer orange in there. That's a pretty color in that one. We'll pick up a little bit of white and just hit that right there. Some of these can be a little bit more white. Some of these can be not quite as white, and we can push back, get some of that other coloring back in there. But see, I'll push it around and let those colors kind of, what I say, modulate, not mix. They're just kind of pushing around together, and that gives you some really nice effects when you're painting. I do it with carnations and stuff like that as well. Those of you that have painted those, you see me push those colors around a lot. Or lift off to reveal some of your shadows and stuff again. So that's that light color back in there. That might be too light. Might need to just soften that down. down in there. And I have this feeling that that one's growing a little bit big. So what you do is you use an eraser on it. Take a little bit of background color here. Just take some of that out. That's better size. Take a little bit of our greens and stuff and come back in there. Erases some of that out. That's better. And then I'm just going to blur these together here and reset that rose again. There, like that. I love to do that. It just, you know, it doesn't bother me to make mistakes because I paint them out and paint the shapes back in, and they always look so much better. Here, it's got a little bit of a high place right up here, so I'll take some nice soft greens and stuff and come back in and just tap some of that out. That's better. And I love just to leave those raggedy edges and stuff. That's what makes a beautiful painting here. You know, we'll leave a little bit more red violet down in that center. That'll give you a nice center into that flower there. But just some pretty edges here. Put up the bigger bowl petal, kind of curve it here at the bottom. That sets up the bowl. Kind of a pretty little rose here. A little different. Here. That means I'm going to lighten up this one as well. I'm going to leave that one that light. Right up into this curved and down into that shadowy side there. That's kind of nice. And we'll just leave some, maybe pick up some of that with some shadow. See what that looks like. Not too bad. Pick off some of this, some of that shadow up onto this side, maybe a little deeper. So we head out over here. Maybe just the edge or the idea. Just take a little bit here. Just kind of draw it around, just the idea of those outside petals there of that rose. So you can see just the edge of it. There, like that. Let's get that bowl shadow back in here again. Little light. And you can pull down or lift off. Sometimes I'll go back, if I don't like it, I'll put like a shadow on it and come back the other way. Here. Probably going to want to build these, you know, when I look at the painting, I might want to build those just a bit more. You know, I'll see here in just a little bit. And I got some tiny little bits of light that I want to add through. See if that changes that rose up enough. You get tiny little bits of shines of light, just little textured touches here and around. That really changes your rose quite a bit. Here. There we go. That's pretty good. Let's get some shadow in here. This one will go a little darker and stuff down here. And take some of our warm color, and we'll toss, and I'm going to be blurring the edges up in here. These kind of come together here, almost formal, so I want to blur them kind of together here, and kind of shape this just very casually shape up this rose. So there's that. Now I gotta kind of suggest, just very lightly suggest here, the bowl of the rose, where the opening of the rose is here, and there, like that. Just don't want to do there. Just it doesn't really need too much to say it's a rose. We could define that center a bit more, a little bit more dark, a little bit of red violet here. Drag some of that out down here to the shadow side a bit. Maybe a stroke or so right up to help preserve that bowl here. Then you got to imagine the light stroking of these petals here, the light side of them, where they are. We have maybe build this light up a bit more and see what that looks like. And it's just, I'm just barely touching the surface, laying the color on here. And that just, what that does is it just gives physically more paint here, which causes more interest into this rose already. Builds more interest into this rose. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why I do it. Here I can lift off some of that. Got a little much. Little bit much. Let's drop this down just a bit. That'll make that rose look a little different. See, it's tiny little curves and stuff in through here is what I'm doing. And I'll pick up a tiny little corner of color here on the, use this big brush, kind of draw that around a bit, right up into that, some of that other color there. And that just kind of pushes it around here. And we'll pick up a little bit more white and just hit that so it sits right up above that one, sits right up above that one there, a little bit lighter than that one. And we'll add a few little angled here that will just make that look like right up in the front, little touches of white, which is what we want because that helps us with the, shows the viewer the light source right through here. Just light and white texture, just touch it in there. Let that thick paint sit right up on top of that there. It works so well, and it helps direct that around here, coming right around. There's our light moving through our painting there. Maybe just a touch here. We're going to get some of that light texture right in there. Right in there. Just light pink now. Heavy light pink. Pick up some thick paint. Not as white, but just a little bit of pink. Yeah, it's good. Maybe a little bit of red violet into that, so the cool side here will help recede that. So, and then why I'm putting this on right now is because I lightened up so much onto this other side. So, the rose, really to keep it from going light and dark too much, needs to have a little bit of this cooler, lighter pink into it. And I could actually get some of that nice, really nice orange in there as well. Lots of yellow and naphtha red light, a little bit of yellow oxide if you wanted a little more toned. But that warm, see that beautiful warm, wonderful into that light side of that rose, that warmth there. That really, really works. Right down there. Oh, that's pretty. Let's get this warmth, just a touch of it right back in there. Just a touch of it. I tell you, that orange just, even though it's soft, it just does. I've never been an orange fan, but boy, when I started to paint a lot of warms and cools, I really started to make a big difference in my paintings. Let's go down. A little softer. Just some idea here. Here to the back here. Like that. Just an idea of an edge or so there. And we'll take just an idea of an edge or so here to make that look like one that's going back there. They don't need very much. So let's just put a little movement in here into this one. Right there like that. Soft. A little bit of light here. That's all that one needs right now. And just some reds. That might be way too bright there, Dave. I think that is way too bright. Get a little burnt sienna, a little green. You know, your background. Get some of that in there. Soften that out. Let's just put in the idea of a rosebud there. A little bit of something going on. There. Now before we get to building any more of these up here, let's do this one down here. I'm going to start with some of that nice orange right down in here. And let's cool off that center. Red violet, little naphtha red light, just a bit here. Let's just toss those together there. And then we'll go into some of our soft pinks. Start to build that bowl, that front of that bowl there. Okay. We can, one of the things that Dutch would do was turn around and point a petal back up. Nice light petal back up towards your light or the direction of the movement through the painting. And so you just push and pull that back up in there. And look what that does. See, it just kind of, zoom, takes you right back up that way. Right back up that way. Here we'll just add a few little touches here. Get that nice center down there. A few little lights here. Just to say you did it here. Just to push, and this one I'll round up like this because it is more of a bulb petal. This one's kind of reaching out. Let's just touch a little more color right there and there, and then we'll put in a little bit of that orange, maybe tone it down just a bit with some of that other reds and some of our other reds, and just lift out some of that there, like that. That softens those out. There, just little touches of light here. That helps bring them a little bit more forward. There. What we got to do, let's come back in here. Burnt umber, green, a little bit of red violet, cool that down here. Let's do a little bit of negative painting right up here. That'll set that shape of that rose, maybe this one right there. A little bit of the negative painting. Now, some rose petals, come out more towards, points out through here, and so you can set some of that and get some of that look just by doing that. Just negative paint them in there. You can just set some edges in. Let's put a little bit of light right on that one. There, like that. That's pretty nice. Yeah, I'm just using a little negative dark here just to shape up and around some of that one as well. But you can use those to set those colors in there and shape them up. Now let's get into some beautiful leaves. Now, pine green, yellow oxide makes a nice yellow green, but we want to gray this quite a bit. Now we can gray it with our red violet, but just a little gray, black and white are beautiful inside of that as well. So let's just gray up here. Make a nice grayed one like this. Add a little bit more of our yellow oxide here. Let's find some beautiful grayed colors like this. That's very, very grayed. Because we're going to come to the outside here. And many times I like to put to the outside. So this will be the light side of the composition, but we want it to kind of be grayed here. And so it's not bright. And we'll put in a leaf shape here, which is more of an oval. First I'll start the leaf shapes there. Okay, so we'll do one here. We'll do one right there. And let's do one coming out here. So you have these leaves. We'll put some of that onto this one. Coming out there. And then I'll take a little bit of black and green and burnt umber here. And let's add the idea of the vein line. Maybe pull some of this out from that vein line out as a shadow there. And it's just a real quick way of doing some leaves here. And we'll touch some of those. Maybe a little bit of the reds and stuff in there. So we'll add more to those as we get going. That works kind of nice. We'll add some more, maybe a little yellow, change it up a bit here. And change some of the types of leaves here a little. Just putting them on and, you know, and getting an idea. Maybe this is what we want to do here. Because I can adjust it, like I'll add more touches and more tones and all that kind of stuff. I can adjust that here. But it's just giving me an idea for this side. It's a little stiff, but I think we're going to be okay. We'll take a little light color here and just give the idea of the stems there. But we can start to change some of those up a bit. Just with some other lighter, slightly different color, a little more yellow, touch of black to keep that toned, and like light little touches. You know, it all depends on, you know, how much you're going to do. Some artists will put more tones and stuff into the leaves, but we've got to really finish our flowers before we go too far. But getting some different tones in there is kind of nice. Some of those grays, very gray colors here. There, little lights, grays here, and more greens, and sometimes, you know, Hansa yellow and blacks and the browns, beautiful greens here. Hansa yellow and your Hansa yellow and burnt umber and black is beautiful leaves as well. Since we're adding burnt umber now to some of our palettes, it's beautiful. Hansa yellow, burnt umber, black, even some of the reds into that. They're beautiful, beautiful yellowish tone type leaves. Beautiful depth of greens to them. A little different coloring here. Little touches of those colors here. We'll go through some of the painting and add a few of those touches. See that beautiful tone? Isn't that a lovely tone? There. And of course I'm watching the brightness of it and stuff as well, but put some of that right in here. That's a beautiful, beautiful tone. Love that burnt umber, yellow, Hansa yellow. Then you can add some greens. You can even add some blues and stuff to it, but leave it onto this side. It's very warm, very inviting kind of leaf color here. Very pretty. Let's get some light. That light helps point to the light source there. There we go. Some of that will look nice down the side. A little hit onto the vase there. There. And some of my purple colors in my composition is softened out, so I should probably restate that. Let's get some purpley, some red, violet, and blue. Get some of our white back in there. Tone that down just a bit. Let's just add some of these tones here. Just a bit here. That's pretty on the sides of those roses. Very, very nice. Just hit those in there. You can sink them, do what I call sink that tone in by just putting a little light or warm tone right on top of it, and it'll incorporate that purpley tone right into the flower, into the painting. That's good. We can even add like little purpley touches into the background back here. It's just color spots, you know, and I do this all the time. I just push some of that color around into the painting there and just drag that around. You know, it goes out into the background, it goes out into a few of the other little places, and it just starts harmonizing the whole painting. And this is becoming very popular. This is totally against everything that I've ever done as far as carrying color, because we always put on objects, but I just kind of splash it around. You know, it's almost like hose it down a little bit with some of those colors, but look what it does, see? And it works. I mean, you start carrying just little bits of this color around here, and it works in the painting. You just start picking it up and stuff, and so it you know, it's the movement of color, and the viewer doesn't need to see it on an object. It just needs to see the color, you know. So I just start placing it around there, and it just all works. It always works, you know. So yeah, so don't be afraid to hit a few places with it. Let's continue on down here. We'll paint a real soft little idea of one back behind this. It's going back behind there. Just a suggestion of it. Rose back there. You know, all the rose really needs is that nice turning dark center. You know, some red violet, turn that dark center there. Flashing that out, and that just really sets it back behind. This one I will need to take some of that light vase color there, vase color, and just hit this front edge of it here. Just so it comes up in front here. There, like that. So I get a little bit of that light climbing up in front of that. Let's come down here and do the same type of thing. Okay, we'll put some light color there, maybe just a spot or so of that light right in here. Like it just hits the edge of that. Just the edge of that rose there. Just kind of put it on and then kind of paint it out into position. That's what I like to do. Always put on too much and then paint it into position. It's the way I do it. And let's grab a bit more yellow oxide with that red. Nice warm color. Of course, we set it back, burnt sienna. And look at how mixed up my colors are now. Burnt sienna, some of that red violet, some of that red here. Just kind of push that around, push those colors around. See, let them what I say modulate, just kind of flow in, because I'm using the color so thick, they just kind of flow in together there. Then we'll tap in that real dark center. Pull that out. Maybe a bit of the light on the edge of that rose as it's coming out of there. And a bit of light right here as it's... But then it's going to go right to the dark. But we might have a bit of a light. Touching through here. There, like that, and a bit more light. Here. And you can push and lift it out and stuff into position there. You control that. But you might want to put on a few little tiny light edges. Little bits that it hits the light hits. We'll come back through here when we're almost done doing that again. Touching a few of those things and refining these roses just a bit more. Because as they get really, really wet, it gets hard. So we wait for them to tack up just a bit and we come back and do it again. And they get a lot easier to add more light to. Then like that. There. That's kind of pretty flowers there. Like that. And I paint, I want this one lighter, so if I can't get it white enough, I need to darken that other one, but I can get this a little lighter. There. And it's a slow addition of that light, of this white, and little touches of it. There, to get that nice light coloring there. That works lovely. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to come right back here into the front and pull some of those light colors right back into my front here again. Might even get a little bit of that violety color down through here onto the edges here. And let's get some nice light. We'll go back up here, these greens and yellows and browns. Let's get some yellow in there. Let's get some nice light back into our painting up here to the front. So it looked like we had a lot at the very beginning, but we want to reset this light right in here. Tap some of that around here, right around our little flower, our stem of our rose there. Get a little bit more yellow in there and some white into that area there. And I'll use the knife and stuff and we'll kind of burnish that together. This is one good reason why we don't finish any of that stuff yet, because we might hit it and take some of it out, and that's all right. Well, artists will put it back in. Here. That's good back in there. I like to leave the front of this really chunky, really light hit and chunky there. Just grab some white and just kind of hit that. And take that back and darken it down a bit. Get that back in here a little darker. Got some pink in my fingers, and that's okay. Just push that right into the background or into the foreground here, so that's okay. That carries that color. And I did it by mistake, but it works. That's why I say I just love to paint casual like this with some of these colors. And things happen. I mean, especially when your fingers get dirty, colors carry, and that's when it gets beautiful. And of course, you can never ever copy that again. It's just never going to happen like that again. But it does get so pretty. It's this that works through there. A little bit of our touch light right would be back through. You'd have a little bit of it right through here. And I know that because I've done so many setups with the light and stuff, and studying these over the 35, 40 years that I've been painting. I've done a lot of these, and I know that that's going to be there. And even if you don't, doing setups and stuff, I did them for years and years and years, and they are necessary for you to start to learn how to see, the painting. But it's all part of teaching your eye to see. You got to do some. But I've done so many of them. I know that that's going to be there. And I'll put a little bit of a shadow. Now we would have a cast shadow right in here, and that will cast out. And I'll push that right in here and just let that. We're just going to give an indication of it. I'm not going to make it absolutely perfect. Add a little black. This brown and green and red violet, and burnt umber and green red violet. I'll add a little black. Just, shadows have at least 3 values. They get darker as they get to what we call the contact shadow. And there would be, if you're going to paint absolutely perfect, there would be a contact shadow up underneath the front of this right in here. And because I'm painting so casual, I don't want to have it perfect, so I'm going to come back in and set some light and just kind of blend over or stroke over that just a little bit, just to take a little bit of that contact shadow away, and just kind of hit it, and just kind of hit where that light is there, and move on. Let's take some of that brown, just kind of go right over that edge of that stem there again. And we have to build on that again. That's coming around. We still have lighter leaves to put in, lighter green leaves and stuff to put in. That's coming. Let's go up and add some of those. Pine green, some yellow oxide, maybe a bit of Hansa yellow, which will make it quite bright. And let's put a few strikes of those colors in there, those lights in here. Just those colors in there. Now we can also take it back down in a few areas with some of the other greens and stuff. So we just want to make some light green strikes, because that's where they would be, up in that area. Push them underneath the flowers and stuff with some of your green, darker green. But this light green strike would happen right into these areas here. I'm not going to paint them into perfect little leaves or anything. I'm just going to put some color in there, move some color in through these areas. Some of the greens. Oh, I didn't want to cover up that little light on that. Because I know they would be in there, but I want to push some of the darker ones back with a little bit of shadow green here too, pine green and black and a little red violet. So, and like right back up over in here, this is the shadow side here. So some of this would be pushing back and getting darker. So we want to show that I want to build the light up here and the dark, the chiaroscuro, or the roundness of the light here. I want to develop that just a bit more. So we'll have that dark coming right back through there. Some light coming through, hitting through a few areas here. Here. And some greens. A little bit of shadow as it goes underneath. We'll hit a little bit of light on the edge of that one. Maybe a touch of light there on the edge of that one. Just kind of run your finger there just to adjust so that you take a little bit of that extra off. Just little touches. that's a little bit bright right there. So we'll just take a little dark right over it and take it back. There. That's looking good. It's defining that light a bit. Let's define the front light here a bit more. Maybe into a leaf shape. More just the pine green in there. Just strokes of pine green look great. It's a nice warm yellow green. That looked great in there. You could use that as almost like a negative painting green back here. Helps you shadowing. Like the idea of little calyx or so there. I'm going to push a little bit of the red, break up that center a bit more. Just naphtha red light, break into that center a bit more. There, that looks good. There. That's looking pretty good. Get a little bit of our light where I hit that shine right up here. I would like to leave that in there because I like that purpley shine right in there. Maybe a little darker purpley blue underneath it just to get that color difference there. That works pretty nice. Yes. I love those. I love that Hansa and burnt umber, little pine green, beautiful colors. And we should also add here, I just added a touch of the red in there to tone that down, but you can get a little bit of that red in there, reddish tone to hit every once in a while in some of your leaves. That just helps them harmonize with the flowers, the roses. Just grab a little bit of that color, or even back down through here. Such a pretty color. Yes. And just move, this, what I'm doing now is just taking some greens and just kind of moving them through the painting here. And we'll let what happens happen here. And I like the lightness and the movement of everything through. I like the light and dark of it through here. That looks pretty good. Through there, I was thinking, do I need to lighten up that container a little bit? But I don't think so. I think that container looks pretty good. It gives a nice contrast. It lifts it off the surface here just a bit. I may want to come up and do a little bit more on this front table here, edge of this table here. Get more of a shadowy tone here. I don't want to do it perfect though. And grab some of our other kind of tones right in here to say light, and just kind of brush across it there. Break that up. Just, you might even consider using the knife or something like that. We want to keep it soft and grayed down, not as light, and just kind of broken like that. In this very draggy light across the edge of it here. Not perfect at all, because this is all casual. There, like that. Just boom. Just kind of shows it a little bit, which is good. Let's take some of that. I love that green and burnt umber and pine green, or Hansa yellow, burnt umber, pine green. I love that into the. It's such a pretty color into the background here as well. Not heavy, just little touches of it here. Like that. So I might put a whisper of that here and there. We might burnt umber, red, violet, little black and green, brown, nice dark. Set up the very back side leaves, like there's some backside leaves back there. On that side. That looks pretty nice. And then we'll build up our lights maybe one more time through here. And maybe look at that table one more time in the front and that front rows and a leaf or two down there. First we'll do some more lights. There. Maybe some extra light right in here. And again, I just leave that nice, heavy white paint, thick white paint. In there for that. And we'll take some of that white. Down into the front here, a little bit more. Work that in with some of that greenish color. I love that. That kind of greenish color. Let's just work those in a bit lighter. Just shows that light coming right through. Be brave with some of your strokes out through here. Just let it happen and get brave with it and let it stay loose, very loose and casual. But get brave with it. That's the biggest thing. And that's hard, I know. But that's the biggest thing. Get brave. Pull down. Pull some across. Here. Here, so they see where that light is. You see where that light is on that container. That's the big thing. And of course, how much you do is up to you for contrast, you know. But yeah, you definitely see it there. And let's dry out just a bit here. So we'll maybe there's just the idea of another one that goes back behind and here. Just some other little stems, and we'll turn in and we'll paint up here some leaves. Don't want to cover up that container. I like that one. So we'll put a leaf out there. Put one right in here. I'm just going to let that, for right now, just kind of model into some of that light background there. Put some green right in there. There we go. Some darker color. and you know, like little stem lines or so in that with that. And we've got to give a, you know, a light hit to these leaves as well. So we should do something here as a light hit to them, a highlight. So we'll do that just a second. Let me add a few more back here, back into this part, and we'll take some light, maybe some nice light green, just kind of hit that highlight there a little bit more, maybe just that. There. Yeah, let's just soften that. Give a little bit, you know, like pull out like this, and that just gives a little bit of a streaky movement there to it, and a little light hit out here onto that one, and maybe right in there. Just little touches of light, just kind of mix those lights and those greens coming through there, and it just gets a little bit of light. Now if you get too much, then you just take a little bit of like your pine green, that burnt umber there, and just paint some of that out. Just leave little touches of that light. A little bit of that, and just a touch of that pine green, Hansa, and some yellow oxide into that white, nice light yellow green. Just little touches of it here. There. Might want to use little touches of it up here. There, like that. Little touches of it up into here. And it just helps show the green movement there. Yeah, green movement. You can, I don't generally do this on casual paintings, but you can put in cast shadows, or the idea of a cast shadow here on the edge of something, on the edge of these leaves here. Idea of a cast shadow, or a cast shadow here. Just a quick, casual little idea of it, because you know this painting is impressionistic. So you know, with impressionism, you let a lot of the perfect detail go. You just kind of do it, and you know, and that's what makes beautiful impressionism. So I could take a little bit of that purpley color and just cast a little bit down into that shadow, and that's kind of pretty, just a little bit, because there would be reflected light back into that shadow. If you've done your shadow studies, you know that. And so, but I put it in just very casual and very quick, and that's what happens with impressionism. That's what you do. So just casual and quick and get it done. Here, so we'll come in and add just little touches here and there. But it's pretty for a little 16 by 20 painting. That's kind of pretty. We'll add maybe a, let's just see what a little bit more light would do onto the front of this container. Right down like that. Just a nice putty. I took the purple right into some of my pinks, my warmer oranges, and it just kind of makes a lighter, little warmer gray. We want it a little bit to the violety side, so just a bit here. And just kind of dry brush it right into that and soften it out there with your fingers. And that looks pretty good for that. Maybe a touch lighter here. And you can just kind of drag and hit a little highlight down the front of it there. till it expresses itself right down at the bottom. Here's a little shine again. And that works pretty nice. We'll drag a little bit on the edge. It's a little too light there for the reflected light, Dave. Gray that down just a bit. Oh, there we go. That's kind of nice. I like the way that kind of came out. Very, very different look there. You can deepen that if you want more contrast. You can deepen all of your stuff. Take some of your black and red violet. That's really cool. Maybe add a little bit of your blues and stuff to it. You could use that as real deep shadows anywhere into the painting. Since we have that purple color, so you could use that as a deep, and that would increase your contrast throughout the painting as well. So that's up to you. If I wanted more shadowy contrast to this side of the floral, you know, maybe I wanted to really get that nice deep shadowy colors down into here, so you know you have that nice light and dark. That would be what you do it, where you would do it, right in there. Put a little bit of that right in there, like that. So, but I think for a couple hours this is not bad for a painting, and that's a little too much there. I really love to stick my finger in that painting and get that going there. That works. It always does. I might take a little bit of red and push that in there, like there's a little red flower or something sitting back in there, so it's not just all green. I like to do that sometimes. If I get it all too much, I'll just come in and I'll push in a color like that, and that will give the viewer an idea that, hey, there's some red and stuff back in there too. Breaks up just all the solid green that might be up into that area there as well. Just little things, and that's what you're doing now. You're just coming through and adding little touches of color, little things that you know, you might want to refine a little bit more. Get some reds if you want, and add some accents out to your to some of your leaves and stuff out there, and you know, anything that you want to do to kind of add final details and stuff. But it's a fun little painting, quick little painting, and hope you've enjoyed it. I had a good time painting with you on this one here, and so you can see, start out with that sketch, but boy, look how much I pushed back and narrowed down that vase, and you know, by doing that, I cannot stress that enough. You know, I used to be so perfect with the pattern, and now in the last couple of years, I'm just kind of you know, it's almost like having the pattern not quite so perfect, and that allows you to relax more inside as you go to paint it, and that's what's so very important, is to be able to, you know, it's not to adhere so close and so perfect to that pattern. You know, yeah, your lips might be off just a little bit here and there or something like that, but I won't let it bother me too much, because the whole feeling of the painting here is just very casual. And you know, you look at the Impressionists, boy, they don't get a lot of that perspective absolutely correct. They let, you know, you paint with so much confidence stuff, but you let some of the perspective stuff that you have, you let it go, and it works out. Okay, hope you enjoyed it. I had a good time. I'll see you on some of our other videos, and as always, if you have any questions, like I said at the beginning, don't forget to you can write us at jansenartstudio@aol.com. Look for us on the YouTube. All of our painting videos and stuff over on YouTube. We're adding more. We're adding a Landscape Seascape channel. One subscription to the Premier channel of YouTube gets you over 250 videos, and you can watch them over and over and over and over and over again, and as many times as you want. So that service is over on our Premium channel of YouTube, and we're constantly adding to that. So this year we'll hopefully be up close to 300 videos. So I'll see you on there too. See you in the next one. Till then, give it a try. Have some fun. Start out a preliminary sketch. Just have some fun. Let it evolve. And use your finger, use your brush, use the knife. It's a lot of fun. I'll see you on some of the other videos. Okay, till then, take care. Bye-bye.